Hello everyone, welcome to our video session. In this video session, I'm going to provide you a very brief summary of the 6th chapter in your political science book. This chapter focuses on political participation. So let's start with learning outcomes. After you finish reading this chapter, you will be able to discuss the impacts of individual as political actor in socialization. You can describe the influence of political culture in participation. You can characterize the process of political participation. You can explain different models of political participation on democracy. And finally, you can summarize the benefits, weaknesses, or drawbacks as factors affecting political participation in various forms of democracy. So, as for the chapter outline, it starts with an introduction as usual, and then the first topic is the individual as a political actor. The second topic is political culture. The third topic is political socialization process. And the fourth topic is models of political participation. And the finally chapter focuses on factors affecting an individual political participation. So let's start with introduction. Why do we participate in politics? So we participate in politics because we believe that it can support the individual values of citizens, or it can address the needs for services. Also, we participate in politics because we think that it can reflect beliefs and moral expectations of us. And finally, we expect that we can produce some sort of favorable results through our participation in politics. So what is political participation? It is an activity in which citizens, groups of citizens, take place to influence the government. It includes voting, attending public forums, and being members in active groups. Also, political participation is always a subject to controversy since the ancient Greece. For instance, Plato argues that it should be limited to those trained as political leaders. So ordinary people, according to Plato, should not participate in politics. However, Aristotle, another Greek philosopher, was more supportive of political participation. And political participation is generally considered as cultural, so it depends on cultural differences. So let's move on to the individual as political actor. The individual as the foundation of any participation takes place in two ways. The first one is a single player. So individual can participate in politics as a single player acting alone. It can take place, it can happen providing influence, individual influence through personal action in politics, but also individual can participate in politics as a member of larger group to increase his or her influence in politics. So this refers to influence, political influence through joining other people, other citizens, other individuals. The political participation is taking place generally between government and its citizens. So it refers to benefits from how governments singularly, how citizens singularly or as a group act toward that government. Also, it refers to benefits from interacting one another, interaction between citizens. So, what is the concept of individualism? Individualism gained popularity at the end of the 18th century Enlightenment. It's said to be the foundation of democracy, for instance, in the United States. So the individual or individualism. So individual values are over group values or other type of values. And also social systems must support individual desire for self-fulfillment or happiness. And this idea refers to that statement. And we know that Protestant Reformation by Calvin or Martin Luther is significant in the emergence of individual in Christian world or in Western world, and liberal individualism particularly became a very common idea or value in 19th century after the French Revolution. So let's move on to another topic, political culture. So what is political culture? It is a recent concept which is credited to Gabriel Almond, which is developed by Gabriel Almond. It refers to widely shared beliefs, values, and norms that citizens share about the government. And it is a distinctive and patterned way of thinking about how political and economic life ought to be carried out. It can exist for a country, for a group, or for an individual. In other way, we can talk about political culture for a country, or for a group, or for an individual. It applies to how individuals respond to common beliefs or rules toward influencing the government. Political participation can take place at social level. Individual enters the political arena to serve their own interests. Also, economic needs, religious beliefs, or educational needs can be reasons for political participation at social level. Also, political participation takes place at the international level. Politics is present in every culture, but it has different variations depending on cultural differences. For instance, when we compare China and Europe, there are different rules depending on their different cultural traditions. So as for the political socialization process, there are many ways to participate in politics. There are, for instance, formal or regular processes such as voting. When you go to vote, when you go to elections, you can participate in politics through, your legal right as a citizen. Also, there are some groups with common interests or concerns. You can participate in politics by joining those groups. We know that socialization processes might influence individuals. So these can be schools, religious organizations, peer groups, special interest groups, political parties, the internet, or social networks. These can be sources, or these can be ways, socialization ways that influence individuals in terms of political participation. And lastly, there's a problem in modern world, or in contemporary world, that youth do not participate in politics. So this is a risk or problem in contemporary societies. So let's move on to models of political participation. Political participation has two dimensions, as we mentioned earlier: individual or via groups. As an individual, you can participate in politics through voting. You can go to election polls and you vote, and then you participate. You elect your representative. But also, there's another way to participate as an individual, to protest government actions. So this can be civil disobedience, for instance. Also, people participate in politics through joining different groups. These groups can be issue or interest groups or lobby groups, which try to influence government decisions related to a particular issue. Also, trade unions is a form of group, social groups, that people, particularly working class, can participate or can influence political decisions. Also, we know that political parties are the most effective and important ways of political participation. They develop broad ideological agenda. They are concerned with normative issues about society or about how society should be run. And in any state, they covered a range of political ideologies from conservatism to liberalism or socialism. They recruit members, nominate candidates, and conduct campaigns in politics. There's another forms of groups, which is called grassroots groups. They can appear spontaneously related to any issue. They can emerge without structure or initial funding. They can grow as an issue increase in intensity. These issues can be energy and environment, conflict and poverty, international peace, global impacts, domestic tranquility, or, for instance, immigration. And there are another types of group through which citizens can participate in politics. Non-governmental organizations, they can result, particularly international NGOs, can result from international issues beyond ideologies. For instance, Red Cross, Red Crescent, or Doctors Without Borders are examples of international NGOs. And the last example, or the last model of political participation, is social networks, which emerged or developed after the advent of internet. So this is a new way of political participation. For instance, like Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn are the most popular social platforms or online platforms that people can meet and develop or claim some causes, political causes. For instance, the Arab Spring is an important, or shows its value or its influence of the influence of the social networks in politics. So, as for the factors affecting an individual's political participation, why does an individual participate in politics? There are some different reasons for that. On which the chapter focuses on: desperation, deprivation of rights, support to personal morality, which is believed to be right, or obligation imposed by cultural pressures. And as a last point, we know that the women movement or women rights against discrimination disturbs governments around the world that are less willing to give women equal rights. So in this chapter, we focus on the individual as political actor. We also consider political culture. We discuss political socialization process. We focus on models of political participation, and finally, we consider factors affecting an individual political participation. Thank you very much.